Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.
Welcome to St. Louis on the Air. I'm Sarah Fenske. Of the many industries decimated by the coronavirus, the arts may have been hit the hardest. Performances being canceled means less income for organizations and for individual artists. And while some events have moved online, it's not the same, nor does it pay as well. The Regional Arts Commission wanted to help artists deal with the financial stress. Its St. Louis Artist Relief Fund has distributed thousands of grants to working artists across the 8-county St. Louis region. And here to discuss that fund and ongoing efforts to help artists is Mont Levy. He's the chair of the Board of Commissioners for the Regional Arts Commission. Mont, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So I understand the Arts Commission created this fund in partnership with the St. Louis Community Foundation. Where did the money come from that went into it?
Yeah, it came from several sources. I mean, in mid-March, as the whole COVID catastrophe was unfolding and the arts had already begun to suffer serious hurt, the Regional Arts Commission looked to its own resources and its own mission to support individual artists and recognized we needed to do something. And so we immediately came forward with a $100,000 grant into this fund that we created. And we partnered with the St. Louis Community Foundation because they had begun their resiliency fund, and we thought that kind of partnership made an awful lot of sense. The funds then, beyond what the Regional Arts Commission was able to provide, we went out and did some fundraising to individuals, to foundations and companies. We're able to raise some additional dollars, but the real heft of the dollars came from the amazing Arts United STL benefit concert, which was produced by Opera Theater St. Louis.
I understand that concert raised $350,000. You know, I was just referencing how online events, you can't always get people to pay for tickets the way they'd pay for something in real life. Boy, did that prove the exception. Were you surprised by that total?
Well, of course, and overjoyed by the generosity of the St. Louis community. It was just a tremendous outpouring. And it was an outpouring both in response to the cause for which we were out there asking, but it was also a response to the organizations who came together to demonstrate their incredible talents. And they brought out the best of themselves. I mean, it was an evening of extraordinary entertainment, and I think really was a catalyst to spur people in our community to want to give, to support the artists who give them such joy and meaning in their lives day in and day out.
Mm-hmm. So you guys put some seed money into this. That concert raised a ton of money, other people contributing. How big has this fund gotten?
Well, we were able to raise a little over $500,000.
So what's the idea of where you want this money to go specifically?
Well, it's no longer a question of where we want it to go. It's gone.
Where has it gone? Yes.
And we knew it was going to go and go quickly because the demand was huge. As it's called, this was emergent, an artist relief fund. And these were smaller grants, $500 or $1,000, to go to working artists who had lost substantial percentages of their income because of canceled events and gigs, and who were suffering greatly and really needed to meet basic needs. And so we gave grants to those who demonstrated that profile of working artists, those who had lost, and as it worked out, I mean, 60-something% of the artists in our area have become fully unemployed and lost tremendous amounts. And the over 75%, or right around 75% of the recipients of of these grants lost between 75 and 100% of their income due to COVID-19.
Wow, those are some really staggering, sobering numbers. And our second guest here that I want to introduce is just the kind of artist who this fund wanted to help, and that's Michelle Dillard. She's an actor, a voiceover artist, a playwright, and a director. Michelle Dillard, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So
Thank you for having me.
How did you hear about these grants from the Regional Arts Commission?
Well, I am a former CAT graduate, so I'm always on the Regional Arts Commission's website, just looking and searching and seeing what's going on. And when I happened to see it, I immediately applied.
And was it difficult to put in that application?
No, I found the application surprisingly quite easy to maneuver, and I was very happy to have received the grant.
And so, Mont, in terms of these applications, was there much screening done to make sure people are working artists? It seems like one of those almost hard to define things. Some people do art part-time and some people do it full-time. And what kind of criteria were you looking for with that?
Yeah, first of all, kudos to the RAC staff because they really worked very hard to make sure that this application was as simple as possible, and really relied on just the artist attesting to their profile. We knew an awful lot of these artists because, like Michelle, many of them had been CAT artists or had come into RAC's world in one way or another over the years. But we asked some basic questions about how much of artists' income were from their artistic endeavors and how much of their income they had lost due to cancellations due to COVID. And so we trust our artists.
Yeah. And Michelle, as I was listing that long list of titles, actor, voiceover artist, playwright, director, all I could think is, boy, these are all things that have been changed so much by this moment that we're in. How has your life been affected by just everything shutting down?
Oh, wow. Yeah, definitely. As an artist, all things have been impacted. I had a few things, irons in the fire, before the pandemic hit. And, just had to really readjust mentally. I was preparing to do a staged reading, direct a stage reading with First Run Theater, perform in South Carolina, a show with Empower Entertainment, a show in Baltimore, Maryland. And had my own project, #MeToo, Her Voice Must Be Heard. I've performed it several times in St. Louis, but we were due to go to Indiana and perform it. So those things and other things were interrupted, and I just found other ways to remain relevant and busy.
I was going to say, beyond that financial impact that I know has hit so many people so hard, has it been hard to find an outlet for all the creativity that you have, that you've been putting into these projects?
You know what I decided to do? I honestly woke up and decided one day, you know what? I can allow this to defeat me or come up with new creative ideals to keep me relevant, to keep me creative and busy. And that is exactly what I did. I treated it. I got up, I stayed on a schedule. I got up each morning, did my exercises, prayer, meditation, took a little time to laugh, and laughter to me really just keeps me sane during this time. And I just kept myself busy with taking lots of acting classes and reading a lot and starting a couple of shows. Catching up with Michelle. I wanted to just tap into the community by allowing art and communication to intersect. And I began to interview, similar to this, other artists, find out how they were coping during this crisis, because we can't assume everyone is coping okay in a crisis. I learned that years ago. When I worked for the airlines, a friend of mine committed suicide after we were all laid off. And I didn't want to see that happen. And so many of us were on lockdown. So I said, let me check in with my fellow artists to see how they're coping with this pandemic. And not only did it just help me, but it helped them as well, gave them a platform just to share, just like I'm having the opportunity to share with you guys. They shared on a different platform via Zoom and Be Live TV. So that was really one of the ways that I stayed busy and stayed relevant and had the opportunity also to shoot a couple of commercials and PSAs in my own home.
Wow.
That was a new hat that I had to wear. Not only did I find myself as the actor, but I found myself as the lighting person, as the sound person. Of course, the producers zoomed in and gave me direction. So
And you
that
mastered
was
some new skills there. I mean, that's remarkable to hear. And Mont, hearing Michelle describe this, it sounds like she really has so much resilience and has found a way to keep working and stay creative even in this. Is that something you're hearing from a lot of the artists that RAC has given these grants to?
Yeah, you know, this moment where everything has been turned on its head and you can't count on anything that has been, it is a tremendous period of creativity. And I'm seeing it in lots of different places. And certainly one of the things that we heard from a number of the recipients is that these funds allowed them to continue to be creative, either because it alleviated some immediate stresses of just living expenses, and great percentages of these of the funds were used for rent and utilities, or it allowed them to do something that they needed to do to further a creative project they were doing. So there is no question that part of the benefit of the Artist Relief Fund was to help the flourishing of creativity in our community continue.
Well, thank you very much, Mont. That's great to hear. And thank you for joining us to describe how this fund is just paying off.
Well, it's been a pleasure to be with you.
And that's Mont Levy of the Regional Arts Commission and Michelle Dillard. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio. That's 90.7 KWMU.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, honoring Arbor Day on April 26th, with an ongoing commitment to sustainable stewardship and conservation of Missouri's forests. ChooseWood.com.